From the Cactus KCTS FM Phoenix, I'm Jamison Greenwood with Greenwood and Company. Well, I hope everybody's having a happy 11th day of Christmas. We still got one more day. Tomorrow is 12th night, and then we'll officially be done until the season begins next December 24th. Also hope everybody had a happy and safe New Year. I didn't do much, but I remember this one time when we had the weirdest New Year's Eve. There was a lot of champagne, which I did not touch, but Colton and Heather did. Now, some people like to celebrate the New Year in all kinds of ways. They might watch the New York City ball drop, or if you're in Flagstaff, Arizona, they have the acorn drop. Or some people like to use sparklers or firecrackers, and Colton had some on this same New Year's Eve I'm remembering back when I was up in the Arizona high country. After spending Christmas down in Phoenix with my family, I returned to the Arizona high country for New Year's with my friends at Brubeck's coffee shop. I walked into Brubeck's to find Colton and Heather sitting on the counter sipping some champagne from tall flutes. We discussed our Christmases, and Colton showed us a new compass he got as a gift, while Heather discussed making gingerbread cookies for the first time. However, as we continued to talk, it became clear Colton and Heather had consumed more than one flute of champagne each. Colton looked at the N on his compass. "That's north. It's pointing at me, so it's calling me a nerd." "No," said Heather. "I'm the one who's a nerd." "There's no H on a compass," Colton said. "Heast? No, that's east." "You're right," Heather replied. "Heast is gross." "I think it can get to trees," said Colton. "It's horrible when it gets to trees." Poor ponderosas. I asked Colton if he could get me some coffee, but instead of my usual cream, I asked for it black. Colton was still sober enough that he didn't burn himself in the course of preparing my coffee, but I was afraid he might mix in mayonnaise or paint thinner by mistake. "Is that coffee too hot for you, Jimmy?" "No," I assured him, "just stronger than I was expecting." "Can't be as hot as Heth," Colton was about to say Heather, his heartthrob, but caught himself just in time. "I mean the firecrackers." "But I thought you were against firecrackers," Heather mentioned. "You are an environmental activist." "I am against fireworks, but Mr. Ibsen brought them to be nice," Colton replied. "Besides, we're not that close to any pine trees. If we were, I would quit." Heather and Colton laughed. "Another champagne, please?" asked Heather. Colton poured 2 new flutes. "Don't you guys think you've had enough of those?" I was concerned already. "Relax, Jimmy. It's New Year's Eve. Annabelle's going to drive us home anyway," Heather added. I shrugged my shoulders, then sipped my coffee while they enjoyed their bubbly party wine. Soon after, Annabelle, Heather's cousin, came by with her saxophone and began to play some songs for us, starting with "What Are You Doing New Year's Eve?" Ever fond of Annabelle, I watched her in her scarlet dress and black boots, her smiling, snowy skinned face with the sage-green eyes flanked by her lemonade-blonde hair, a piece of holly leaves and berries on her part to acknowledge the Christmas season was still among us. "Do you like her, Jimmy?" a geriatric voice asked. I turned to find Mr. Ibsen, Brubeck's founder. All 100-plus years old he must be. I was taking extreme caution not to stare for too long, but resigned that there's only so much anyone can do to disguise those nonverbal cues of infatuation. "Well, Mr. Ibsen, I'm just admiring her wardrobe." "Liking some girl isn't anything to be ashamed of, Jimmy." I nodded as he spoke the truth, but he somehow understood through my unspoken expressions that I didn't want to discuss this further. He asked how my year had gone, and I told him of the joy I found in starting my first radio show, the Jazz Bookstore, while he told me of getting to see his grandkids at Christmas. "But I could barely afford their presents," he started off. Mr. Ibsen, a rich old man that owns a large mansion, Brubeck's, and several other businesses, was the last person I would expect to be in want of cash. He also has an orange grove in Casa Grande, and is always donating money to the Lutheran Church and High Country University. "It's all because of that darn Lyceum." We discussed Mr. Ibsen's summer woes, which began when he was at his Seattle vacation home one day. An advertisement for a company called Lyceum Home Improvement came on. They were offering a brand new product, self-cleaning gas-powered rain gutters with burners inside them that burn away debris. Well, Ibsen had a problem with the leaves in his Seattle home and thought to himself, maybe I should think about ordering. Then their catchy jingle clouded his judgment. With Lyceum, you're never alone. Our products help make your house a home. The gutters seemed like a good idea, and Lyceum had a good jingle, so Ibsen called them up to get them installed. A guy who reeked of fast food hamburgers came by and put them in. They tested them out, and everything seemed to be working fine. Mr. Ibsen was so excited about the gas gutters that he decided to have a big garden party to present them to his friends. He let the leaves and debris fill up in his gutters so he could demonstrate them to the guests, then set up canopies and string lights in the backyard. Mr. Ibsen gathered all his friends in the yard, and about halfway through the dinner he grabbed a megaphone. Well, I'm not sure that a megaphone is the first thing that I would reach for when I'm trying to keep my dinner guests entertained, but we'll explore what Mr. Ibsen did with that microphone and the shenanigans that eventually ensued once we return from this short break. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on KCTS. The weekend is here. Time to relax, make new friends, and look for love. What do all these things have in common? They make a perfect pair with Judge Thatcher's Lawful Lager. A cool, refreshing blend of wheat, hops, and castor beans for that repellent but refreshing taste. We'll make you forget all your cares of the week, reveal things that will make your friends burst out laughing, and if you're lucky enough to get a first kiss, your mouth will be clean as a freshly sanitized public urinal. Every time a gavel lands, have Lawful Lager close at hand. Judge Thatcher's Lawful Lager. Available in cans, bottles, or fast-dissolving strips to freshen your mouth. Please drink responsibly. And welcome back. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on the Cactus, KCTS. Now, before the break, we were talking about Mr. Ibsen, who was having his garden party, and he decided to get out a megaphone. This wasn't really necessary because there were only 5 or 6 people there, but being that he's 11 whatever number years old he is, and most of the people there were also that age, they were probably hard of hearing. So, maybe it was more necessary than I thought it was. But anyhow, Mr. Ibsen gave this speech about how much he'd like to thank Lyceum and how they were so courteous and had a great jingle. Then he went to the valve, turned on the gutters, and they burned away the leaves, twigs, and debris, and everybody cheered. Then he shut the valve off. But the flames did not die. Before he knew it, the entire roof was engulfed, and though nobody got hurt, they had to call the fire department, but the roof was completely destroyed. Which is why the Lyceum Home Improvement jingle now goes, with Lyceum, you're on your own. Our products may help destroy your home. Mr. Ibsen assured me that he was slowly recovering his bankroll, but it was still hard going without dinners at Casaletti's, our local Italian restaurant. This elicited warm thoughts of Annabelle, as I've often thought of taking her to Casaletti's, then taking her for dessert, listening to her play her sax beneath the moon between sessions of making out, when a lovely blonde girl with piercing green eyes and a motherly smile caught my attention. "Happy New Year, Jimmy!" "Same to you, Annabelle." I observed a champagne flute in her hand. "I hope you're not driving us home on that." Annabelle giggled. "No, Jimmy, it's sparkling cider. You want some?" I was perfectly content with my coffee, but seeing the Martinelli's bottle that Annabelle pointed to made me decide to have some. We walked over and Annabelle poured me a glass, after which we cheered the new year and banged our glasses together. While we discussed her planned musical numbers like Auld Lang Syne and Happy Holidays, Colton and Heather stood behind the counter making music of their own. One evening at a tavern in a small southwestern town, a lovely girl came looking for help whose car had broken down. She said, "Sir, can you lend me some gas to get my engine restarted?" I told her, yes, I've got some gas, then all of a sudden I farted. That's the Birch Tree Tavern song, I observed. Annabelle rolled her eyes. Probably good I'm driving tonight. We kept to ourselves until about 5 minutes before the stroke of midnight, when Colton called us to don our coats and scarves for a trip outside. New Year's almost here. Time to launch the fireworks. Are you sure that's safe, Colton? I asked. I'll, help him, Jimmy, Heather belched. It'll be fine. I pulled out my phone and kept it at the ready in case we needed to call paramedics. Colton had 3 different New Year's rockets, which he set up in the gutter just beyond the Brubeck's stoop. A black and gold for New Year's, a blue and silver for winter, and a red and green Christmas rocket. He broke one match in half trying to light it, then the second match ignited, but he immediately dropped it in the snow. So I offered to strike the third one for him. My hope was that he would stand back and let me light the rockets for him, but he was too drunk to have that kind of reflex. Once he saw the lit match, he took it close to the lit end, burning both of our hands in the process, bent right over the Christmas rocket, and lit the fuse. Annabelle and I had to pull him back before the fuse went off, otherwise it would have launched only a few feet and exploded right near his Adam's apple. Colton seemed to be losing more and more awareness with every second. "Heather, let's you light one," he suggested. Heather was able to light a match which set the synthetic fur of her coat on fire, and though she removed it before it could burn her and tried to stomp it out, the flames spread to the other 2 rockets. Both hissed as they flew toward the navy blue skies of the Coconino forest. Colton shouting, "Happy New Year!" distracted Heather from her burning coat. Thus Annabelle and I had to smother the fire by scooping snow on the coat with our champagne flutes. Up the hill, the bells at St. Edward's Episcopal Church began to ring, and we rushed back in to sing Auld Lang Syne. In the end, Colton and Heather did not drink any more champagne, other than those last few drops of fizz stuck at the bottom of their glasses, but it was quite an interesting conversation as Annabelle drove us home in the Subaru she shared with Heather. I won't go into great detail other than to say Heather asked Colton if he would take off his shirt after Colton complained of his jacket being too hot, and when Colton and I got back to our dorms, I had to take him up in the elevator, and there was a pizza box sitting in the corner, which he sat next to. As the elevator was rising, I had to snatch the weeks-old moldy pizza slice away from him before he put it into his mouth. I guess that's why I don't drink. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on KCTS. Winter holidays are happier with Hobbs Wellington department stores, especially once the holidays are over. Miss out on a Hobbs Wellington exclusive double wall oven? With flash-oversized flames to maximize cooking efficiency and burn your house down, now yours for just $250. Did you forget to send out Christmas cards? At Hobbs Wellington, you can get ahead for next year and buy 5 packs of 20 cards for only $5. The greetings are passive-aggressive, but your friends will be happy you saved. And if you ate too much this holiday season, get great deals on the Big and Tall section of our Big and Tall section. Our men's dress pants were $40 a pair, now only $15 per pair. All the better to save money for Whoppers and Big Macs. Check off your self-centered post-holiday wish list at Hobbs Wellington department stores. 9 locations throughout Arizona. Additional support for Greenwood and Company comes from DecorRejects.com, an exclusive online retailer of broken vases, beat-up furniture, and poorly exposed photographs, all at prices to meet your budget. DecorRejects.com, because trash deserves to sell too. Additional support comes from the Folding Chair Charitable Trusts, the Save the Floppy Disks Foundation, and the Society for Cats with Mathematics Test Anxiety. Well, soon we'll be on with another year, and it'll seem like 2025 is just 2025. Oh, another day in 2025. How many times have I said 2025? Well, I won't say it again, but I wanted to close out the season here with a little sonnet I wrote about New Year's. New Year's Eve Sonnet. The time comes for transition of the years, to end the old and let the new begin, reflecting this year's laughter and its tears, the joys we hope the new year ushers in. At bars the taps of beer and cocktail shakers are busier than ever on this night. Outside the streets are filled with New Year's capers, the glows of sparklers, lanterns taking flight. Our home is packed with several generations. Grandfather's clock sits ticking down the time. We harmonize with folks throughout the nations as midnight strikes in singing Auld Lang Syne. This year will bring much hope, I do believe, recalling joy in every New Year's Eve. Additional support for Greenwood and Company comes from the Society for Cats with Mathematics Test Anxiety, the Folding Chair Charitable Trusts, and the Save the Floppy Disks Foundation. So we're coming pretty close to the end of another show. We're already getting into the holiday season, as I've often talked about, and I want to talk to you all about our Christmas special that's coming up. I was going to share a story of one of my most memorable Christmas seasons, and when I took a look at it, I realized that it was so long that it's actually going to take us 2 episodes in order to do it. So stay tuned next week. We're going to do our 2-part Greenwood and Company Christmas special. So we'll have Christmas Part 1 will be next week, and Christmas Part 2 will be the week after. And of course, we'll have plenty of poetry and humor as usual. But in the meantime, when I think of the Christmas season, I think of winter, and one of the reasons I chose to go to college in the Arizona high country was because I felt so deprived as a kid not having snow, because I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, a desert where there never is any snow. And so this is a poem that I wrote. This is a haibun, which ends with a haiku and has a longer body at the beginning. And it's one of many poems that I have written on the beauty that I find in fresh fallen snow. In winter flakes fall from the skies above. They coat the ground below like a white fox's skin. The flakes replace the sycamore leaves, forming an enchanted winter forest. At any moment a talking deer or squirrel, a rabbit, or even a fox will welcome you to this wonderland of fresh fallen snow, the kind we see in dreams. The brown bears and black bears hibernate now, dreaming of trout and sweet honey in spring. Some humans too long for hibernation, but for others, daydreams of snow begin. While the first flakes fall, polar climates polarize, snowbirds and sunbirds. That brings an end to this week's Greenwood and Company. Our show was created and hosted by yours truly and was written by him along with James Salison and Minnesota Martinez. The engineer is Ivan Crosby. Jonas Andrews answers the phones even though we don't take calls on this program. The theme was composed by Martin Landstrom, and our costumes are provided by Grandma's Garage Thrift Shop. All the characters, settings, and situations depicted in this program, along with all advertised products, are entirely fictional, and any similarities to products, events, or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Also, KCTS is not an actual radio station. Be sure to like and leave a comment on this podcast, and make sure to follow us on Spotify to get more information about new episodes. And be sure to share this podcast with your friends. Just a reminder to please be careful if you are going out on the 101, the 17, or Route 66 tonight. I'm Jamison Greenwood, and until we meet again, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay young at heart. Good night. This is KCTS FM Phoenix. Stay tuned for Lacking in Substance.